The PlayStation Eye is made by Sony and is only compatible with the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation Eye is what I use to make all my webcam videos, and it's what I'm using right now. Overall, I think it's a pretty good camera, but it's kind of hard to review the camera that I'm using to film. So the way I'm going to do this review, and I apologize because it's going to be kind of jumpy, but I'm going to show you just about every single feature that the PlayStation Eye has. The only one that I can show you before I have to cut would be the zoom function. Now the zoom is very simple. On the PlayStation Eye, there's a little part right in the front, and you can adjust the zoom that way. So I'm about to do that now. So you can have this zoom, which is pretty much zoomed out, and then you can click it real quickly and zoom in. This is really good for webcam videos, especially if you're interested in YouTube, because you might want to use this view if you're just talking, there's not really much going on, maybe you don't have any kind of background, like I don't have a background, and so this is the view that I normally do. This view would be more useful if you have a background back here, for example, but I only have a ceiling above me and it's like completely white, there's nothing interesting there. The only background that I ever really do for my videos is I kind of have this flag back here, and I have my PS3's box, which really right now there's so much empty space back here. For me it makes more sense to zoom in, but it's still a nice feature. Now the camera, the video quality I think is very good for a webcam. The only problem that you're going to run into is it's actually a very dark camera. And this won't be a problem for most people, but basically what you have to do is you have to have a really bright light shining on you. You can probably tell from the shadows that my bright light is right up there. So in order to really film effectively with the PlayStation Eye, you have to have at least one bright light. My lighting is not that great, but let me show you what happens when I turn off the lighting. Okay, this is how it looks without my bright light on. Right now, it's daytime outside. It's kind of cloudy, but it's still daytime, and I have a light on there and a light on there. And yet, I think that the video quality, which I can kind of see over there, the video quality, it looks really dark. It doesn't look bad, it just looks really dark. So normally what you have to do is you have to turn on a really bright light. Like I said, that's not really a problem, but it's something to know if you're planning on buying the camera. You're going to want to figure out a location that's relatively close to your PlayStation 3 and a source of light. So I'm going to go turn on the light. Okay, so you have to be kind of close to your PlayStation 3 when you film because the cord, the camera comes with a USB connected to it. You cannot remove the cord. So the cord that the camera comes with is one that you have to use to connect it to your PlayStation 3's USB port. This really isn't a problem because the cord is pretty long. In fact, it's much longer. It's about 3 times as long as the cord for recharging the controller that your PlayStation 3 comes with. Like I said, this webcam is not compatible with PC or anything besides the PlayStation 3. Although Sony has released a editing program. It's a really primitive editing program. You can't legitimately edit with it. All that you can really do is add effects, which are really nice, I'm about to show you. And you can splice the film and basically cut out parts that you don't like. So now I'm going to show you some of the effects. Okay, I had to move my camera over here because from where I normally film I can't see what I'm doing for the effects. The effect right now is obviously just black and white. Black and white's a pretty simple function, but it's nice when you're trying to be serious or show an emotion. It can be used pretty well in videos. I have not really used it yet though. I've never really understood this effect. It's called sepia. I don't know how it would be used, it just makes everything look kind of darker. The only time I ever experimented with it was when I was trying to fix the lighting. But it does give everything kind of an interesting look. I think this is a really good effect if you want to look like an alien, or maybe if you want to look like a ghost, because it makes everything just look white and blue and kind of purple. White sources, like the lamp I have right over here, turn to purple. And it makes you look literally white and blue, which is kind of an interesting effect. But like I said, it's really only good if you want to look like a ghost for a Halloween video. This effect is very similar to the last one. It is just called X-ray, and it doesn't look that X-ray to me, but you basically still have all blacks, blues, a little bit of purple. But things are actually kind of done in the reverse. The light sources now appear black, and the shadows look blue. Speaking of blue, you also have your standard color filters. This is blue, this is obviously green, and here's red. There's no yellow, these are the only solid color functions that there are. These functions I think would be good to portray an emotion, like this red could be for a violent scene. Then again, if you're filming a violent scene, you probably shouldn't use a webcam. But you know, if you're low budget, this might help you. I'm gonna try to go through all the distortion effects really quickly. The distortion effects basically completely screw up the way your video looks. I don't see a use for any of these. But if you want to make a really freaky looking video, or if you're trying to review the PlayStation Eye like I am, it's an interesting thing to put in your video. Apparently this is 3D. I have no idea how this is supposed to be 3D. I guess this is why you buy a 3D television, because if you don't, you're stuck with something like this. Alright, this effect is called twist. Not surprisingly, it kind of twists your image around. If you move a little bit from side to side, it twists you a lot more. A lot of my subscribers probably wonder why I have never put any of these effects in a video. Well, it's because how the heck would I use an effect like this? You know, this looks pretty normal at first. It's an effect called disturb. So when there's movement, it kind of disturbs everything. This is called polarize. I really have nothing else to say about it. Here's another effect that looks almost normal. It's called sculpt. The distortion comes when you move, and it leaves an odd, kind of blurry trail in your way. Here's pattern. You can tell it's just a whole bunch of distortion, everything's kind of just like almost checkerboard pattern. Alright, this is called ripple. It's just kind of weird. This is called bloat. This is another good one if you want to look a little bit like an alien. And this is pinch. It just makes you look really thin. It makes you look kind of like a pencil. These effects are so... This is stretch. This is what you do if you want to make it look like you have 2 feet of hair. Or really long arms. There are also some effects that are just called artistic effects. This just obviously breaks you up into 4 different views. This is graphic. I guess it's supposed to be a stylized type of video, but I mean, I guess it looks interesting. A lot of these effects would just catch my eye. I don't know how much I like it, but I mean, it's interesting looking. It does kind of look like some sort of... This is edge detect. As you can see, it just highlights the edge of everything. And everything else is completely black. This is a sketch. It basically makes it look like someone sketched a picture of you, and then only filled in the shadows. So there's nothing but, you know, there's no color. This is toon. It makes you look a little bit like a cartoon, I guess. That's the idea, and I kind of see where it comes from. This is posterize. So I guess you're supposed to look like someone on a poster. It looks more like someone in a nightmare. This is screen print. Yeah, it's just really weird. And this is surface. I can't even see anything in this. Well, let me see. Maybe up here. I guess my lighting isn't right for this effect to work properly. Lastly, we have trails. A trail is just, well, a trail. It follows you when you move. I like this one because it kind of changes color. And it's boring just to have one color all the time. So it's a really interesting effect to play around with. This is action. It's supposed to highlight your action, obviously. Yeah, see how that works? It's kind of like a cinematic effect. Almost like if you're trying to film a fight scene. It's like... Yeah, it makes it look almost like you're moving in type of slow-mo. This is neon. It doesn't really do anything, except it leaves kind of an outline of you in different colors. And again, I like it because it changes color, so it's not just the same color. This is ghost. I think it would be an interesting one to use on Halloween. Because what happens is when you move, you create the trail. Right now, the little blue outline is where I actually am in front of the camera. But it leaves an image behind me. and if you stay still for a while, it looks like a ghost materializing. There's also a mirror mode, which is this, and there are a whole bunch of other modes that you'd expect. Like, you can adjust brightness, which doesn't really help, because I found that if I changed the brightness, it also messed up the video quality. Alright, so despite all of the incredible weirdness that I've shown you in this video, which is probably going to be the strangest video I ever make, and frankly, some of the stuff looks really freaky the more you play around with it. There are some other options that I didn't show you, but I went through all of the major effects. Overall, the PlayStation Eye is a really good webcam, and I'm going to give the score out of 10. But first, I just want to go over everything. There are a ton of effects. You know, a lot of them aren't really useful, especially because you only have a webcam, but it's really nice that they were included. Sony made iCreate, which you need to make your videos, but it's free, but you have to download it from PlayStation Network. You know, it has all of these effects in it, but for editing, it's not really that good. It's great for effects, so you have pretty much every effect you could ever want. The cord to the camera is pretty long. I mean, you're not going to be able to take it too far from your PlayStation 3, but I mean, you don't really need to. So compared to all other webcams on the market, this is a really good webcam. I'm very happy with the audio quality. I know right now the audio quality I think is a little messed up, because my voice is kind of bouncing off the wall up here, which messes with the quality, but for the musical videos that I've made, I really like the quality. So the main things with the webcam are of course going to be audio quality and video quality, both of which are really good. The only real downsides are, it only works on the PlayStation 3. You know, so it's not as flexible as some other webcams out there. And besides, but there is an advantage to that too that I should mention. My PS3 is an 80GB hard drive. Some have smaller, most have bigger hard drives, or the same. So it's kind of preferable to using your PC in some ways, because this way, you know, you have a gigantic hard drive, you can put tons of videos on there. I should mention that it actually does limit you to 5GB of space. It outputs videos in MPEG 2 or 4, I don't remember, and some sort of MPEG file, which is not the most convenient thing in the world. So the big problems are, basically, you know, it's about a $50 webcam. It's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive. Overall, it's pretty good if you don't mind the fact that you're limited to using it around your PlayStation 3. Overall, I give an 8.5 out of 10, because, like I said, it's a pain that it's linked only to your PS3 and you can't do anything else with it. The lighting can also be a pain to work out. But once you get the lighting, you know, it's fine, it's really good. If you only, like most people watching this, I'm going to assume, are either my subscribers or people who want to buy the PlayStation Eye because they want to make YouTube videos. So if you want to make a YouTube video, and you don't mind it just being webcam video near your PS3, you just want to talk about video games, for example, like I do most of the time, this will suit your purposes perfectly. You'll have tons of effects to play around with. You should really enjoy it. It's only a downside if you want to move away from your PlayStation 3. Overall, I would suggest this to anyone who has a PS3 and wants to make YouTube videos with a webcam.